While Greek gods scream and clash with metal weapons, Eastern gods calmly close their eyes, and the world reshapes itself around their silent command, bending reality with nothing but a force within. In Chinese and Japanese mythology, the most powerful force is not a weapon, a creature, or a spell. It's something invisible, something internal. A force so subtle that it flows through air, bone, fire, and time. It is known by many names, but in China, they call it qi. In Japan, they call it ki. And for the beings who master it, it means complete control over body, mind, nature, and even death. This is not imagination. This is the foundation of how spirits move, how gods heal, how yokai curse, and how monks ascend. Both energies claim to shape the universe, but they come from radically different understandings of life itself. Before we compare them, you need to understand what they are. Qi is the breath of the cosmos. It flows in rivers beneath your skin. It moves through channels called meridians, connecting organs, thoughts, and spirit. It is the engine behind martial arts, healing, and even spiritual transformation in Chinese thought. Qi, however, is focused. It is cultivated through meditation, sharpened through training, and directed by will. It is what allows Japanese monks to walk through fire or summon inner strength beyond human limits. But then come the deeper terms. In Japan, beyond Qi, there is Reiryoku, spiritual power, and Seiki, the life force that binds spirits to the body. These are not metaphors. They are layers of reality. The moment a monk achieves stillness, his ki becomes visible. The moment a yokai manifests, it is driven by Reiryoku. The moment a kami speaks, it is the vibration of Seiki. In China, qi is not only movement, it is balance. Taoist immortals, or Xian, do not fight. They refine their qi until they merge with the stars. They do not fear death because their energy is already eternal. But does that make qi more powerful? Or is the explosive, disciplined force of kai more dangerous in the hands of a warrior? The comparison begins here, but you must decide how far it goes. In Eastern mythology, power does not come from muscle or weapons. It flows from within. This force, invisible but undeniable, is known by different names. In Japan, it is called ki, the life energy that moves through all things. In China, it is qi, the same breath of existence believed to connect the heavens, the earth, and the human soul. Though spelled differently, both refer to the same fundamental idea, that life itself is energy, and energy is life. But while ki and qi are the basic currents flowing through mortals, there are higher forms only accessible to the divine or the awakened. In Japanese tradition, two terms rise above the rest. Reiryoku, meaning spiritual power, is what flows through gods, yokai, and beings from beyond the human realm. It is not bound by biology or emotion. It burns steady, clean, and absolute. Then there is Seiki, the refined essence of pure life force, harder to harness and even harder to keep. Some say it's the breath of the cosmos itself, distilled into a form only true spirits can control. While ki and qi can be trained, Reiryoku and Seiki are often inherited or granted, not earned. This raises a deeper question. If all life is energy, then which culture has mastered it? Both Chinese and Japanese myths revolve around inner energy. But which one refined it into true power, and who controls it better? In Japanese mythology, energy is not unleashed through rage. It is cultivated, concentrated, and released with purpose. At its core is ki, the vital life force flowing through all living beings. It moves with the breath, responds to emotion, and deepens through discipline. But when the boundaries of mortality dissolve, ki transforms. It becomes Reiryoku, the spiritual force wielded not just by humans, but by gods, yokai, and the dead. Amaterasu, the sun goddess, does not burn with fire. Her Reiryoku manifests as radiant control. The first of my 9 scrolls records a tale in which she hides in a cave, cutting off the world's light. Then, the land plunges into cold silence until other deities lure her out with a mirror. But the mirror didn't reflect her face. It reflected her own Reiryoku back at her, a power so pure she forgot her sorrow, and returned not because she was called, but because her own energy recognized its place in the world. Then there is Susanoo, her storm-born brother. His Reiryoku is not gentle. It tears through oceans, topples mountains, and once, in a single outburst of divine chaos, he flung a giant serpent into the sea and carved the sky open with thunder. Yet even he had to learn control. When banished Susanoo faced trials in the mortal realm, and only by mastering his Reiryoku did he earn the sword Kusanagi. Hidden within the body of the 8-headed dragon, he slew proof that raw energy must be refined to become divine. Among yokai, the Tengu are infamous for their command of ki and the wind. They live in remote mountains, surrounded by mists no human can pass without losing themselves. In legend, a general once climbed the slopes of Mount Kurama to seek their training. The Tengu tested him for days, not in battle, but in silence. On the final night, when he lit a fire for warmth, the Tengu extinguished it with a single breath. "Control the flame inside you," they said, "and you won't need warmth." That general became a master swordsman, his blade moved by breath, not muscle. Below the gods and spirits, monks continue the unseen war. They chant sutras that bind invisible forces, drawing Reiryoku from sacred scripts and silent meditation. In one tale, a village was plagued by a vengeful Onryu, a spirit of rage. The monk sent to face it didn't bring weapons. He brought rice, salt, and his voice. The ritual lasted 7 nights. On the 8th, the spirit wept, not because it lost, but because someone had finally heard its pain through energy, not violence. The monk's Reiryoku transformed the spirit, dissolving its hatred and guiding it toward peace. In Japanese lore, ki and Reiryoku are not tools of domination. They are mirrors. Each user's energy reflects their discipline, their emotional clarity, and their purpose. Power is not taken, it is harmonized. While Western myths shout about conquest, Japan's stories whisper about alignment. And in this stillness, unimaginable strength awakens. In Chinese mythology, qi is not simply a force within. It is the breath of the cosmos, the current that binds wind to mountain and star to root. Where qi in Japan flows inward through control and ritual, qi moves like mist, surrounding, entering, passing through. Cultivating it is not an act of dominance, but of resonance. Through qigong, Taoist breathing, or meditative stillness, the body becomes a vessel not to store energy, but to echo the harmony of the world itself. Ancient texts describe qi as a river that moves through invisible meridians within the body, aligning the self with heaven and earth. Some Taoist sages claim that those who master this river can extend life, resist illness, even communicate with spirits. Stories tell of Xiwangmu, the Queen Mother of the West, who dwells on the sacred Kunlun mountain. Her qi is so pure, it grants immortality to those worthy of tasting her peaches of eternity. Unlike the sharp, focused qi of Japan, her energy radiates in waves, tied to celestial rhythms and the balance of yin and yang. Then there is Shenlong, the azure dragon of the east. He does not speak. He does not fight. He coils silently through the clouds, and with a flick of his beard, monsoons fall or skies clear. His qi manipulates climate itself, not by command, but by being in perfect accord with the atmospheric breath of the world. And there are the sages, nameless, patient, robed in silence, who sit by waterfalls, unmoving for decades. Their qi becomes so subtle that flowers bloom around them without touch, animals gather near, and their voices are carried to distant lands without a single word uttered. In this mythology, power is not seized. It is earned by disappearing into the rhythm of nature. Ki is a flame controlled by breath. Chi is a wind that never stops moving. In Japan, Ki is honed inward, sharpened through ritual, isolation, and control. Imagine a monk seated beneath a frozen waterfall, unmoving, his breath slowing until his heartbeat aligns with the world's stillness. That is Ki, power through restraint. Susanu's storms are not born from rage, but from channeling inner chaos with brutal clarity. Amaterasu's light doesn't scorch, it purifies. Tengu/wind with precision, not fury. Ki manifests in sharp edges, sudden force, and the sealing of yokai with a single mantra whispered from behind closed eyes. Meanwhile, Chi flows around obstacles. It bends rather than cuts. A Taoist sage stands in the ring, eyes closed, absorbing the rhythm of the clouds. Shenlong does not scream lightning. He exhales it. Shi Wangmu doesn't fight death. She steps past it, offering immortality to those who synchronize with her celestial pulse. In the body, Ki is stored in the hera, deep in the core. Chi moves through meridians like sunlight through leaves, soft yet constant. The training reflects this. Where Ki demands stillness and repetition, Chi rewards movement, breathwork, even diet. One cuts through darkness, the other dissolves it. Ki turns inward, mastering demons and discipline. Chi expands outward, mastering storms and seasons. One seals, the other reshapes. And in their mythologies, each power defines what it means to ascend. Chi bends nature, Ki cuts through it. In the mythologies of Japan and China, both energies grant power beyond human limits, but they do so through different paths. So, which energy reigns supreme? Ki, when mastered, grants a person divine control over inner chaos. But Reiryoku and Seiki take this further. They are not just enhancements of Kei, they are its evolution. In Shinto and Buddhist lore, gods do not wield Ki like mortals. They emit Reiryoku like a constant pulse. When Susanoo split the sea, it wasn't force, it was intention, charged with spiritual weight. When Amaterasu hid in a cave, her withdrawal of Reiryoku plunged the world into darkness. These energies respond not to motion, but to balance and imbalance. Seki, meanwhile, is not just spiritual, it is vitality untouched by corruption. A single drop of Seki from a divine being is said to revive fields, purify lakes, or even cleanse a cursed soul. My fourth scroll tells of a wandering monk encountered a village dying of a blood plague. Rather than using medicine or prayers, he meditated for 7 days under a freezing waterfall, drawing Seki into his core. When he emerged, he walked barefoot into every home, and the disease left like smoke rising from water. The monk died soon after, but none in the village ever fell ill again. His Seki had rewritten their fate. On the other side of the sea, the Chinese concept of Qi focuses not on cleansing the world, but becoming part of it. Cultivators spend decades adjusting posture, breath, emotion. In Taoist myth, Qi is not just fuel. It is the art of becoming less human. The 8 immortals of Taoist lore each achieved transcendence through unique methods. Some by drinking elixirs, others by fasting under moonlight or breathing in the mist at dawn. One, Le Dongbin, was a mortal swordsman who fell asleep beneath a tree. In his dream, he lived an entire life of power, fame, betrayal, and regret. When he awoke, he renounced everything, took a deep breath, and began his cultivation. His Qi condensed not through combat, but through clarity. The Japanese mythos often favors confrontation and order, sealing demons, confronting gods, channeling Qi through structured mantras. But Chinese tailies lean toward the dissolving of ego. The Xian do not fight for glory. They leave glory behind. Qi transforms not just the body, but the desire to use it. And yet, Some texts speak of cross cultivators. In obscure Buddhist Chan scrolls hidden in mountain temples, stories describe monks who absorbed the Taoist concept of qi and combined it with qi-based martial disciplines. One story from my third scroll tells of a blind monk who could hear the flow of qi in trees and redirect it with a gesture. Another of a woman warrior who sealed a yokai not with sutras, but by harmonizing her breath with the creature's suffering, dissolving its hatred into mist. These hybrids hint that no energy is greater, only different. While Reiryoku dominates by radiance, qi endures by yielding. While Seiki revives through sacrifice, qi liberates through unity. Imagine a sword that glows with divine fire, that is kai refined through Reiryoku. Now imagine mountains bending away from a master's path, a man walking through fire without burning, and a man who lives for 1,000 years without leaving a footprint. That is qi at its peak. The world remembers both. And though their names differ, their purpose might not. In every legend, energy alone is never the final answer. It is the hands that wield it, the hearts that shape it, and the intentions that direct it. In Japan, not all masters of kai are monks. The Tengu, fierce crow-like creatures of the mountains, are known to manipulate qi to control the winds and vanish from sight. One tale tells of a samurai named Hoshikage who challenged a Tengu, hoping to prove his strength. He trained for years in qi control, sharpening his aura like a blade. But when he struck, the Tengu disappeared, not through speed, but through stillness, its kai bending the light itself. Hoshikage lost not because his power was lesser, but because he misunderstood the enemy's balance. In contrast, the Chinese tales of qi often focus on immortals, but they also include darker beings. The Jiangshi, hopping corpses animated by corrupted qi, are feared not for their strength, but for what they represent: energy without harmony. A Taoist priest once faced a Jiangshi swarm during the eclipse of the Black Sun. Instead of using charms or fire, he poured his qi into the earth, restoring the balance in the ley lines beneath the village. The Jiangshi collapsed like puppets with cut strings. Qi cannot be forced. It must be aligned. The Japanese kitsune, fox spirits, are said to carry Reiryoku from birth. One nine-tailed kitsune named Yako wandered into a human city and used her spiritual energy to disguise herself as a goddess. But her control weakened with each lie she told, and a young girl who saw through the illusion banished her by writing her name in salt and whispering truth. In that moment, the girl's qi flared, untrained but pure. In China, there's the legend of the cloud swallower, a creature that drinks qi from the atmosphere itself. Villages wilted wherever it passed. A man named Zen, born with no ability to cultivate qi, challenged it by redirecting the qi of trees and rivers into a flute carved from jade. The melody flowed with natural rhythm, not force. The creature dissolved mid-air. The power wasn't his. It was borrowed from the world. These stories show that neither qi nor qi guarantees victory. A yokai born of fire can be extinguished by still water. A god of wind can be stopped by a whisper. What matters is not how much energy one holds, but how well one listens to it. Qi whispers in cycles. Qi demands precision. One expands, the other refines. And those who understand this balance, mortal or divine, become something greater than their energy. They become its master. There is a legend that does not appear in any of my ancient scrolls, but whispered among those who study both mythologies. A tale of a confrontation between two beings, not enemies, but opposites. One from the high mountains of Japan, where clouds never break, and one from the endless plains of China, where the horizon never ends. The Japanese entity was a Reikon no Kami, a spirit god born from concentrated Reiryoku, draped in layered robes of smoke and light, whose voice could seal curses and awaken storms within the soul. The Chinese one was a Xianlong, an immortal dragon sage whose chi flowed through every scale of its serpentine body, glowing with the memory of stars. The clash did not begin with a roar. It began with stillness. The Reikon no Kami raised 2 fingers and whispered a mantra that turned the sky above into a mirror of fire. The Xianlong did not flinch. Instead, it coiled through the wind in a spiral, its breath pulling the energy of rivers and forests into its lungs. When the Reiryoku surged outward, sharp, surgical, burning, the chi flowed around it, absorbing its edges, diffusing its anger. They circled for hours without striking. It was not a duel of destruction, but of endurance. The spirit's attacks grew faster, more precise. The dragon's movements grew slower, more fluid. Then, the Reikon no Kami tried to pierce the heavens. A vertical burst of pure Seki cracked through the clouds. The dragon responded not with power, but with harmony. Its chi synchronized with the air, the dust, the trees. The world leaned with it. The energy of balance overwhelmed the energy of force. The Reikon no Kami, not defeated, but emptied, bowed its head and vanished into mist. The dragon did not celebrate. It closed its eyes and became part of the wind once again. Whether it flows in silence or roars like thunder, energy in the East is never just power. It is a test of will, of balance, and of truth. The question is, which would you choose to master?